Good morning, good afternoon. How are you doing? Welcome back to another episode of Two Chefs and the Doc. I'm the Doc, Columbus Batiste, and it is a pleasure to come back to you again. I don't know if you missed the last show that we did last month, but I had so much fun. I had to invite these two wonderful, wonderful women in honor of this Women's History Month back to the show again, and let's do it again. Let's do a rewind. And so what we have for you today, we talk a lot of times on slave food about much of the why, but this show is more about combining and colliding the why with the how you can maintain the flavor, how you can use food as a secret agent towards achieving the health that you always desired. So today I'm honored once again to have first Chef Mommy, Heather Martin. Hey, well, I should know sign language. I don't know sign language, so we gotta get that sound up, Heather. You gotta get that sound up. So, so while Heather is working on her sound and getting that sound so we can hear her too as well, let's go ahead and bring in our second chef. And this one is our celebrity chef, Chef Cynthia. How are you? All right, as we work on getting the sound for both of these young ladies up and going. Oh, I'm hearing them now.
Can you hear me now?
I can.
Excellent. Excellent. Hello, everyone. I'm honored to be back on with Two Chefs and the Doc. Thank you for having me back. I'm excited about today's dish.
All right. Wonderful, wonderful.
And can
And
you
then
hear me now?
we can hear you now as
good.
well.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me, Dr. Batiste. And what's up, Cece?
Hey, girl.
How you guys doing?
I'm great. Doing great.
All right. So listen, I'm honored once again to have you guys back. And I know you're going to do something special, cooking up something special for us today in terms of like soups, I understand. Now, why soups?
Correct. So the soup that I'm going to be working on is a zucchini corn chowder. It's a very simple soup, but very flavorful. And I think it's perfect because it is, for this kind of these winter days, it's warm and tummy filling, but it's also bright enough for the spring and summer. So you can eat this at different times of the year. And the way I prepare it is very unique as well, because the last time we spoke about doing things like there's 3 different ways you can do it. This one, you can completely just do it with vegetable broth. You can use plant milk to make it a little creamy, or you can use coconut milk to take it to the next level. So you've got 3 different levels of fat content and creaminess, lusciousness. So today we're going to go all the way. We're going to go hard in the paint. And we're going to use coconut milk, but it's low fat. So it's reduced fat coconut milk.
All right. All right. No, that sounds incredible. And one of the things that's great about that technique right there is that we have everyone around different phases of their journey towards health. And so we know some may be looking at caloric content in terms of losing weight. Some may be looking at more in terms of things like their cholesterol panel and various aspects. And so as you move like Chef just brought out, that is incredible in terms of different strategies towards making this wonderful meal. Chef Mommy, what about you? What do you have in store for us today?
Well, I'm going to make something. I was thinking, what could I make? What kind of soup? I'm big on soups. I love them. I put them in my kids' thermoses for lunch at least once a week. But this time I was thinking of something special because I'm going to be here with you guys. And I decided to dig back into my roots a little bit. And as you guys know, I'm from New Orleans, and I had this flashback of being a kid and marching in a Martin Luther King parade. And it was the first time I ever heard about this soup. I was so weary and tired and worn out, and somebody was selling off the back of their truck this soup that was in a styrofoam cup. And I just remember seeing eggs in it and noodles, and it's called yakami soup. And it is native soup of New Orleans. It's a staple. There's rumors of how it got started in New Orleans and where it came from, its origins. It's a blend of cultures from the Chinese who were working on the railroads in Louisiana when they came down in about the 1800s. This is one of the theories. they came down, and the slaves, they were working together with the slaves for a while. And so they kind of rubbed off on each other and came together. And in order for the slaves and the people who were there, the Black people, the Creoles, to like the soup that they were making, they made it spicier and they used some Creole seasoning. So that's what I'm going to make today. And I'm going to put a healthy twist on it, because usually it's made with a lot of meat and even probably like seafood. But today I'm going to give everybody who lives in New Orleans, all of my people and all of you, no matter where you are, a good taste of something that's healthier and still delicious. And it's called Yakami, spelled like Y-A-K-A, like Maine, but you know, New Orleans got to say it with that Southern Creole twang on it. So it's Yakami.
Love it, love it, love it, love it. I mean, so there's a couple of great pearls in there that I'm hearing already. So one of the key things I would always tell families who come and see me is that, you know, you're going to hit your kids with the 3 S's: soups, salads, and smoothies. And so right now you're tackling one of the S's, which is the soups. And that's huge. And I love as well. And you demonstrate that because your kids, you do it for your kids. So that's phenomenal. Yes. The other thing I loved about it, and we're going to talk about that more when we get to your cooking segment portion there too as well, is really, once again, that blend of maintaining that flavor, right? Yeah. So we all have a rich culture. And some of us from African descent, we have a culture, whether or not you're Jamaican or Trinidadian or you're from West Africa or you're from New Orleans. You have a rich culture of flavors and spices. And so I love the fact that both of you focus on the flavor, because food is medicine, but we have to maintain that flavor. That's the key. Mm-hmm. That's the key. Oh. All right. Well, let's turn first to our celebrity chef. You want to kick us off, Cynthia?
Interesting. Thank you for bringing out the cultural aspect of it, because this soup, you know, in New Orleans, they talk about the Holy Trinity. And the Holy Trinity is usually, Heather, you can help me, I think celery, garlic, and bell peppers, or something like that, or onions. And the interesting thing is, as you look throughout the diaspora, no matter where you go, every single pot starts with onions and garlic. There may be hot pepper in there. There may be sweet pepper in there. There may be cilantro, culantro, parsley. But every single pot, beans, rice, stew, whatever you're creating, starts with that foundation of flavor. And so that's what we're going to do in this soup as well. And also tying this dish to the diaspora is the use of coconut milk. Quite often, chowders are made with heavy cream. So we're getting rid of the dairy, and we're using our coconut milk instead. But as I said earlier, you can use oat milk if you want to. You can just use the broth. So what I have done is I turned my pot on. I have a little bit of avocado oil that I'm going to use in my pot. And I'm using avocado oil because that is heart-healthy oil. And when it gets hot, it doesn't turn into something other than what it was when it started. And I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that, Columbus, but I have the onions, my garlic, and my celery, and I'm just going to finish chopping those up.
No, that's great. You know, I mean, here's one thing too as well. A couple of questions. So now, could I use theoretically vegetable broth to get my onions and my celery to get that lucent appearance, that clear-like appearance that you're shooting for? Is that possible? All right. Well, while she's adjusting her sound with that as she's cooking too as well. At the same time, one of the key values I want you all to remember, that of all these staples, we look at garlic and onion, and you may have heard me say this before the last time. The allium family is extremely important as you look at things like garlic and onions for actually decreasing the stickiness of your blood vessels. That decreases the burden and the risk in terms of stroke and so forth. And that's where you glean a lot of the benefits. The celery actually has what we call a diuretic effect. So it can allow you to lose some of the fluid and maintain that salty-like taste in your mouth too as well. So a huge value just already from these core ingredients that Chef Cynthia brought out. All right, so she's still working on that sound. Sometimes, you know, technology is a wonderful thing, but as she's preparing the sound here, what we're going to do is we're going to let Chef Cynthia get on top of the sound here for a moment. And while she works on that, maybe what we'll do while you work on that is we'll switch over to Chef Mommy. And Chef
Okay,
Mommy?
can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Oh,
We hear
good.
you. We
I'm
hear
getting
you.
nervous because I don't know what's happening with the sound today. But as Cynthia said, there's a there in New Orleans, there's a Holy Trinity, and a lot of people debate as to what that is. But for me in my kitchen, depends on what I'm cooking. Sometimes it's bell pepper, onion, and garlic, but always onion and garlic for me. And sometimes I switch out that bell pepper for celery. Um, and then sometimes I make it a quartet. So it just depends. But today, since I'm making a broth and I really don't want to have it be like a soupy texture, I'm gonna show you guys. And I told you this is a Cajun recipe, so I'm gonna show you how to make. And I followed a recipe offline. One of my friends, I want to say a huge thank you. I don't know if she's watching, and my sister Dion. She's the owner of Red's Kitchen Sink, and I'm so proud of her. I don't know if she's watching. She, my mom, special thanks to them, and to my friends, my childhood friends, Shalita Mackey and Shelly Mackey. I called them because I was like, I want to make yakami, but I'm just not sure. I need some reinforcement because my taste buds, it's been a long time since I've been home, and I want to make sure I get all the flavors in it. And my friends are meat eaters. And so they were like, well, look, this is what you do. What can we substitute? And it was so crazy. My friend who is Shalita Mackey, who I called for a reference yesterday about yakami, she just happened to be making it yesterday. So it couldn't be any more perfect because we were in the kitchen making it together. And she was telling me, Heather, I start off with chuck roast. So I'm thinking, what can I sub for the chuck roast? And she was like, I cook it for 4 hours. I was like, 4 hours? If I cook any veggie for 4 hours, it will be a broth.
Yes.
So for my substitution, I went with mushroom. I just wanted to kind of stay away from all of the other meat substitutes that have, if you can do those in moderation, but be careful because they're high in sodium. And when you get processed things, it's just extra stuff that they're putting in it to preserve it so that when you get it, it still tastes like something. So for my kids and for this is good. This is a lot of mushrooms. They don't like all the mushrooms. I'm walking them in slowly, but these are baby Bella mushrooms. And so what I did was, like Cynthia said, most pots, if you want your food to have flavor without using meat, if you use those ingredients that we're talking about and all the fresh herbs, you cannot go wrong. But before I do that, I want to show you, we're going to make our own Creole seasoning. And this I got off a website called Food 52. I'll link it once we post this, but I'm going to make it right here in front of you. And this is what you do. You just get yourself a little jar, and all of these seasonings is going to make your own Creole seasoning. This way you can control how much salt you put in it, how much sodium, how much pepper. The first thing you do is 2.5 tablespoons of paprika. Then you want to put a little salt. I'm using gray salt because I find that it's a little bit less high in sodium and higher in like minerals. So I used it called for 2 tablespoons, but the rest of these items have salt. So I'm going cautiously. I did less than 2 tablespoons.
And so that's key. That's key, Heather. I'm gonna jump in here for just a moment. One of the things that's key about this is the fact that, of course, we know the less salt, the better. But remember, the majority of salt that people eat is from processed foods. So what Heather is describing right now are preparing fresh foods right there. And so this is going to dissipate throughout the entirety of the pot, which means the serving count is going to be broken down, which allows you to maintain some of the flavor. So when we look at the amount of sodium that's inside of a teaspoon, it's about 2,000 milligrams per teaspoon. But when we add this in throughout to percolate and disseminate throughout the entire pot, it's going to get the flavor and the aromas that are there. And it will be less problematic than the cans of soup that you buy, less problematic than pouring on the salt afterwards. So great point, Heather.
That's so true. You had me laughing. I was chuckling because you used the word percolate, and all I can hear is Mary J in my head. Okay, so then I have what do I do? I did paprika, salt. This is dry garlic. This is onion powder. onion, like the Creole
Come.
people say. And this is cayenne pepper. You can play around with it. They call for cayenne pepper and black pepper. It's against my religion to really eat a whole bunch of black pepper because I've grown up with my mom telling me it's horrible for you. So I temper when I use it, but so I've left it out because I'm not used to eating with a lot of black pepper. And maybe you know something about that, Columbus, that you can expound upon if you'd like. But this is oregano, dry oregano. This is thyme, and you see how much is making, and that's it. And then since you have it in a little mason jar, you can take it. Mason jars are my best friend, by the way. Take it and shake it up, and there you have concocted your very own Creole seasoning. And you know, depending on who you talk to, they might be like, you left something out, like you should have probably put a little bit of cardamom in it or whatever. But now you have Creole seasoning. And if you didn't have time to make this, you could also find one that's already ready-made and use that too. But this one, you know what's in it, and you made it yourself. So that's pretty cool. Do you want me to keep going? Or
Yeah, let's go ahead with making it, and then we'll switch over to Cynthia for her to make hers.
Sounds good. So this is the bulk of what your broth is going to taste like. And so I'm going to turn on my stove here, and I'm going to start with some olive oil, extra virgin olive oil. And I'm just going to use about maybe 2 tablespoons of that. And I'm going to let it get really hot before I put my mushrooms in. And because this is another tip that I want to share with you guys for people who are just starting to try to cook with more herbs and fresh stuff. I eat a lot of garlic, and I cook with a lot of garlic, and you can save yourself some time. Usually on Sundays, my mom, I can't take the credit. She peels garlic, and she passed this down onto me. She peels the garlic on Sunday, and we have enough to last in any recipe in a mason jar because they're pretty tight. And so you don't have to worry about peeling it and, you know, going, because garlic can be pretty cumbersome to mess with. So because I don't want this to be in my pot, and I don't want to take a long time to, like, you know, drain it and get all the stuff out of it, I'm just going to put some whole pieces of garlic in there right now, but I'll wait to do that. I'm going to put my mushrooms in first.
So Heather, if a person wanted to use vegetable broth, could they use vegetable broth as the base in order to simmer the vegetables? That was a question I was asking Cynthia before she went out.
Yes, you can absolutely use vegetable broth. I rarely use it only because my mom has always just made it, and it tastes so much better to me because she's always put like fresh stuff. Guys, when you put fresh things in food, it just tastes better, but sometimes you are crunched for time, and you can do that. But today I'm going to use 8 cups of water, 8 to 9 cups of water in this to make my broth. But first I'm just going to cook my mushrooms down, and I'm going to use 2 this is a seasoning that Cynthia taught me about when she did the Chef Mommy show. It's mushroom salt, and I love it. And thank you for introducing me to mushroom salt because it's incredible. And this is going to make our broth taste amazing. So I'm going to put, I'm looking for, I already did it. It's already measured. I'm going to put 2 to 3 tablespoons of this mushroom salt with my mushrooms because it also has a really rounded out flavor. And you want to taste your own food. Don't always go with somebody, even, you know, what they're telling you to do. Taste it as you go because it might be too salty for you or too, you know, not salty enough for you. But this, I can guarantee you, is going to taste good. So you want to put these mushrooms down a little bit until they'll take like maybe a few minutes to shrink. And then all you're going to do is add, once these cook down, you're going to add the water to it, and you're going to add 2 tablespoons of the Cajun seasoning that we made. And if you want to, my mom would do stuff to trick us when we were little. You can just stick this whole onion, peel the onion, and stick it in the broth while it cooks. When it's done, fish out the onion and fish out the whole pieces of garlic so that you can maintain your broth without having the pieces of onion in it. And then TV magic, look like this. It's gonna be a brothy, and I think I skipped some ingredients. I skipped some liquid aminos. I also put that in there, but I'm going fast because I don't want to take up too much time. And I'm realizing, but I can show you guys when this starts to cook down more. But I put ketchup. I put a little bit of ketchup in there. And you know, you can buy all kinds of versions of ketchup that, you know, that are healthier. I put ketchup, a little bit of liquid aminos, and this vegan Worcestershire sauce, which gives it a great flavor. And this is what your broth will look like. Can y'all see that?
That looks good. That looks
and
good.
Doesn't that look so meaty? Now in New Orleans, this yakami soup, the thing that they would do, it was real simple. It was nothing that was like over the top. They would use regular spaghetti noodles because oftentimes people would just have spaghetti left over from another meal that they've made, and then now they're just turning something into a soup, which is what I did yesterday when I made this to test it out on my kids. So right now, I'm just gonna make my bowl. There's all kinds of alternatives for noodles. If you're allergic to something and you need gluten-free, I tried this jovial grain-free. This is cassava spaghetti. And they make all kinds of spaghetti out of everything you can imagine. There's rice, noodles, all of that. So this is cassava. This is what you want to do. Build your bowl. You can get brown rice noodles. So I'm going to put the noodles in, and then I'm going to ladle some soup on top. And this is very meaty. It tastes like a beefy kind of, but a spicy beefy kind of texture. And I think it's amazing, if I might say so myself. And the other thing that I did to make it fun, I have some garnishes here. I have some New Orleans. These are the traditional things that go on it. It's scallions. So I'm chopping some scallions right quick so I can make this for you guys, and some fresh parsley. So I'm going to just do that to show you. And I'm going to take some of this beautiful parsley that I have here. And I'm getting my kids used to eating stuff that's fresh. And I did something that was fun, guys. So my kids are allergic to eggs. And a big part of this meal, I was like, I can't leave it out, is having an egg on it. You put a boiled egg. So I made my own eggs out of some tofu. And, you know, being a mama sometimes means just being creative. So I was like, what can I do to make an egg? So
I love that.
Tofu. So I took some tofu and I cut them like, you know, that wide. And I got lucky. You know, those those plastic eggs? I found it in my cookie cutter drawer. So you want to stick that, cut it like that, and then stick it in there like a cookie cutter. Boom. And then, hold on, I need to set it down so I can show you. You want to do that, and you have this, and you can still use it. But I seasoned my tofu first. You can see the seasonings on it. And guess what I used? Because it tastes just like an egg. Tofu scramble magic pie.
Yes.
My girl.
All right.
We're excited for you, Cece. So I used that on it. And I definitely used a ton of it on the yolk part. And it's just fun for them. They were so happy to be like, Mommy, we can have an egg. And I used just like a measuring spoon to scoop the middles out. But you can season your tofu so it doesn't taste bland. And if you use this, girl, I need to order some more because I'm going through all of my stuff. And you need to make them in bigger quantities. Like I need just like a gallon of this. But there you go. That is the easy soup that you can make any time of the year. And it tastes incredible. That. And I just put a little lime there to make it beautiful. And I always try and present it, even though it's kids, I always try to take it over the top for them so that they can have an appreciation for good food and to see that it looks pretty and it tastes good. That's it.
Loving that. I have to jump in and comment on several things. One is the mushrooms are a phenomenal substitution, right? And so I would imagine it doesn't matter what type of mushroom a person chooses for it, but we know mushrooms are one of the sole sources of small amounts of vitamin D that you're going to get from plant sources. So that's number one, that's huge. We know that mushrooms have been shown for women to help reduce breast cancer, right? So in large studies, it's extremely powerful. So we know you're getting a health benefit from that on top of the garlic and the onions for helping your cardiovascular system. Then you throw on top of it some of the grains from this being very intentional in the types of noodles that you get. And then when you throw on tofu, so many people are so afraid of tofu. They think, oh, tofu is going to be bad for me. Tofu isn't. So when we look at soy, there are two types of receptors, your alpha receptors and your beta receptors. The alpha receptors are going to accelerate the potential for disease. The beta receptors will break and halt it. Phytoestrogens, phytoestrogens, which come from soy, out of tofu, are going to go and they break or decelerate the progression towards disease, which is why you don't see the large amounts of cancer inside of some of the Asian countries, right? And so tofu is not bad for you. Tofu, less processed, organic, is going to be beneficial, and that was phenomenal. Thank you. I love it. I love it. That was power pack. Women's health, women's history, right there. You just preserved the health of women all around watching this show right now. So come on with it. Come on with it.
Women!
All right. So now we're ready to get that second recipe going. Cynthia, you with us?
The devil is a lie. We need to know how to make this.
Yes. We got to get that second camera up. I think that's going to be the key for you. Get that second camera up because I want to see what she's making as well.
Yes.
But that is good. So what was the taste test?
So how brought that up about soy, because soy is something a lot of people worry about. But I think another thing is like that you brought out is to be sure of how you source it. Make sure that you're eating something that is organic. And I used to complain about buying organic stuff, but I would rather pay a little bit more for something that's good for me than have a super high hospital bill in the end. So if you're going to eat soy, eat it, make sure you're getting the best that there is. And with everybody, things are different. So if you find that it doesn't agree with your body or does something crazy to you, then don't eat it. There's so many different substitutes that you can use. And still, you could. This would be fine. Even I was talking to my girlfriend about. Is Cynthia's camera up now?
I think we're getting there.
Oh,
we're getting there.
But I was asking her, like, you think it's gonna be okay without the egg? Because I don't know if I can do the egg thing. And she was like, yeah, it's just another something to bite on in your food. So if you wanted to omit it totally, you could, and you still would have the protein from the noodles and from all the rest of the. You can add vegetables to this too if you wanted to get more creative and add more things to it. But yeah.
Love it.
Can you all hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's move very quickly because I don't know how long this is gonna last. Okay, y'all. So in the pot, we've got our onions, our garlic, and our celery. We've sauteed those, okay? You'll see here that I have chopped up some fresh carrots and some fresh zucchini. That's all going right in this pot to saute. This is about 2 carrots that are just kind of chopped, not any particular type of way. If you want a more elegant type of presentation at the end, you'd be much more deliberate in how you cut them up. But I'm doing this for time because I don't want the sound to pop out again. So, can you?
I can hear you. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so we are just gonna let this cook through a little bit. And the next ingredient to this is some corn. Now I use frozen corn because I'm able to find non-GMO corn frozen. Okay, so if you're not taking it straight off of the cob, look for frozen corn because then you know that you're not getting genetically modified corn, which is next to impossible to find. So if you find it, buy it. More often than not, it's going to be frozen. So that's going in. This is about 1.5 cups of corn. We're just gonna mix that in. And if you all can see, it's a beautiful, colorful pot. This is eating the rain.
Yeah, that's always one of the keys, is that if you can add in color to the food, it's so phenomenal because you're getting different aspects that are going to help your nutrition, your health all around.
Absolutely, absolutely. And when I make dishes, and I've shared this with you all in different shows that I've done, I don't like to cook things until they're soft. I love texture in my food. I think that is, you chew more, it's more satiating, it's more filling. So I like to have texture in my soups. There are times when I completely puree them, but this one is really, it's kind of going to be halfway because we're going to puree a little bit of it, but we're going to leave a lot of chunks in it. So we've got, again, our zucchini, our carrots, our celery, corn, all this farm fresh deliciousness. Okay, so after we have coated this just a little bit, we're gonna put in our broth. So I have about 2 cups of broth, and this broth that I'm using, I love it. I got this at Whole Foods. It's a vegan chicken style broth. Okay, so I just added a little bit of this to some spring water, and I'm gonna add that. So that's about 2 cups. And honestly, when you're making this, maybe you don't want to make as much as I'm making because this is going to make quite a bit. You're going to put enough broth to just cover your vegetables. Because what you're wanting this to do is not really boil. You're kind of wanting to steam your vegetables in this broth. Okay? And so then we're going to add our cup of reduced fat coconut milk. Again, you don't have to do this. You could simply allow this to steam through for about 15 minutes and then
Uh-oh. We're losing our chef again. Now someone's trying to keep me from this taste. Are they trying to keep me from this tasty meal? Because this meal is something I want. I'm seeing these colors.
Really,
I'm saying, I mean, I'm hungry. It's like I'm at a restaurant. I'm ordering my food, and it's being delayed, for some reason. But one of the things I wanted to tap into a question that came across that someone mentioned about men. Is it okay for men to have soy, to have tofu? And the answer is absolutely yes. One of the things you want to stay away from is you want to stay away from soy isolates, and those are some of the processed soy components of some of the substitute meats and then some of the protein powders. But the more whole foods you go to, the better off you are. So yes, you can have it, but you want to diversify your protein sources. Do we have Chef Cynthia back? I think we do.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, let's go. So again, you can just leave this like this and blend it and get the puree creaminess from the carrots and everything, because the zucchini, when it's blended, it really does have a creaminess to it. So as Dr. Batiste was saying, you can just stop here. If you're very early in your health journey and you've got some real serious issues you need to address, I would suggest you do this corn chowder like this. Your vegetables, let them soften a bit, and then take about 1/3 of this mixture and blend it, put it back in the pot, and you've got a delicious creamy soup. You can use some plant milk. You can use almond milk or oat milk. You can do that as well. That would be another step. But we're going to use some reduced fat coconut milk. I've got about 1 cup. I'm putting this directly in this pot. Okay, and then the last thing that I'm going to do to this pot is I'm going to take a pinch of smoked paprika. And the reason I'm doing that is it's going to give it some warmth. It's going to, not any spice, but it's definitely going to give it some warmth. And that's what I think makes it such a luscious, like winter/spring soup. I just think it's like an all-season soup.
Love it.
It's so pretty.
It is.
It is.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So question, can someone, if they're lazy like me, right? I'm busy, if I want to make this soup, could I buy frozen chopped vegetables, frozen chopped zucchini if I can find it?
Absolutely, absolutely. You can do that. There's nothing wrong with doing that. The only thing I would say to avoid is canned things. But if it's frozen or if it's fresh chopped, you're good to go. And there's so many different things you can do to the soup as well. So now that we have done this, I'm going to use my immersion blender, but you can also use a Vitamix. You can use any kind of blender you want. I'm just going to put this directly in the pot. And I'm just going to blend a little bit. Hope I don't make a mess. I'm just going to press down. I'm pressing. I want to make sure my sound is still there.
Yes. That's good stuff. And so if I don't have that fancy tool, I just scoop out about a cup or a third of the mixture and I put inside the blender.
Excuse me?
So if I don't have that, I just scoop out about a third of the mixture and put it inside of a blender?
Put it inside of a blender, zap it till it's kind of smooth and put it back in. And that's going to give you your creamy base. So that's irrespective of if you add any kind of milk or cream. You can just blend it and it's going to give some creaminess to it. So if you can see now what we have, you see that?
Yes.
And we still have got quite a bit of chunk in here. There's still quite a bit of texture. And at this point, you would taste it for salt. But we have used chicken broth, a low sodium chicken broth, but we've used chicken broth, so you're not going to need much. And one of the things on the journey of eating healthier is retraining your palate. And so I would encourage people to kind of step back from the salt and then add it as you need it instead of adding it into the pot. Let people add salt to it if they want to, because people have different thresholds for salt.
Yes.
Love that. Love it.
Now we're just gonna ladle this into our bowl.
I wish you could ladle it through the camera to me.
Delicious with some crusty bread or some like whole wheat crackers. You can even put a scoop of brown rice in this if you wanted to even make it more substantive. But this is for zucchini corn chowder. And of course, I'm going to try to zhuzh it up a little bit by putting some fresh greens, some microgreens on top.
Love that. Yes.
Which adds flavor, and it also works with the metals, getting the metals out of our body. But this is our zucchini corn chowder.
Love that.
Yummy.
That looked quick, easy, and it looks delicious.
That looks great.
Yes, it does. I mean, this is incredible. I mean, you know, a lot of times inside many of my lectures, and I'll tell you, my wife is always getting on me. She's like, you focus so much on the problem and not enough on the solution. And that's why I think what you all are doing is so incredible, because it's focusing on, listen, I can keep the flavor, the aromas. My mouth is watering right now as I'm watching both of these soups that are there, and it can aid to my health. So the zucchini and the carrots are adding in vital nutrients to you. And when you add the microgreens on top, giving you the dietary nitrates that dilate the vessels and help to improve your flow, the blood flow, that's phenomenal.
And what I think is so great about soups as well is they are so filling. You don't have to eat a lot of them. And a lot of times what happens is we overeat because we're like, oh, I'm not full, I don't feel satisfied. Soup is that thing that you got a bowl full of nutrition that's keeping you full longer. And when you add things in like coconut milk and things like that, it has even a more of a satiating quality to it. So that's what I love about soups.
And you can eat them any time of the year. There are different soups for different seasons, but I think the ones that we made today can be eaten any time of the year. And you could probably swap out, different ingredients to use ones that are available in that season.
Absolutely.
The fresh ones.
Yeah. Whatever vegetables are in season, you just cut them up, put them in a pot, add a little bit of vegetable broth, and you've got a soup. It's super simple. You don't have to have a whole bunch of stuff going into it. Just keep it simple and fresh. Whatever you find at your local market, that's what you want to include. You could put chopped tomatoes in this if you wanted to. You can add bell pepper, you could add parsnips, you could do cabbage if you wanted to. You could finally chop up some cabbage and put it in there. There's so many things. Whatever vegetables out there, you could use it. You can put it in your soup.
Love it, love it, love it. You know, what I want to hear from both of you, I want you guys to kind of, as we kind of round that corner towards rounding out this second episode, it's Women's History Month. I mean, recognizing women and their place in history. And I've always personally thought that women are the smartest sex on the earth. And that's not even just trying to kiss up to you. I really believe that you all are intelligent. You have the burden of everything, of balancing life, and you do it so seamlessly. But tell the audience why it's so important for women to take care of themselves, to engage in self-care, and where we start in the role of nutrition inside of that. So we'll start first, Cynthia, with you.
Yeah, in case I get kicked off. Well, I think it's important because we manage the home, and we basically set the stage for nutrition. My husband often says that the woman is responsible for what happens inside the home, and the husband is responsible for like the appearance of the home outwards and things like that. So it is so important because we set the standard of nutrition in our home. What the mother buys at the grocery store is what the family is going to eat. I grew up in a home, what was put on the table is what you were eating. If you didn't want to eat it, you weren't going to eat. So my mom set that precedent. And it's important for us to take care of ourselves and our health, because if mama goes down, everybody goes down. Everybody's going to be struggling. So it's important for mom to set the standard, to practice it herself, because children and people are learning by observing, and they will do the same with their families and their health in the future.
Love it.
I completely agree with everything you just said, Chef Cece. We are the keepers of life. We are carrying life. We are giving life constantly, like she said, and we have no one else to blame, because a lot of people do look for us. Like she said, if your kids are eating junk, or you say, oh, they eat too much fast food, oh, they're watching too much TV, they spend too much time on their video games. Well, women are responsible, and we control so much of what goes on, like she said, in our homes and in our day-to-day with our children. And, we are the people who carry the kids. For me, if I felt such a responsibility as a mom to put good things inside of my body, because it's not just the same. You are what you eat. So what you put into your body is what you're going to produce. Your attitude, who you are, your health, everything stems from the self-care and the seriousness that you take when you are caring for yourself and feeding yourself. So nourish yourself well, with not just physically with eating, with the things that you watch and the things that we see. Pay attention to it, because we are the people who are going to keep passing our stories on and our health genetically through to our kids and our tendencies and the things that we do. We could go on and on, but I think Cynthia covered it perfectly when she just explained, and I just wanted to expound on that. And I want to say, I am so glad to be a woman, and I want to say to all the women out there, be proud of who you are, be proud of your heritage, be proud of whatever it is that you've been taught, and if you've been taught bad things, take the good things and pass them on. That's how we grow up. Love each other.
One thing I want to add before we go is food is a love language.
Yes.
Food is a love language. And so I challenge women, I challenge mothers, I challenge all of you to think about the language that you're teaching by the foods that you are cooking. Is your love language one of health, of substance, of nutrition, of abundance, of long life? Or are you giving a love language of abuse, of using your body with sugar and fat and salt, processed foods and preservatives? We have the opportunity to use this love language for the betterment of our family, for the betterment of our community. And so that's a serious consideration we have to make. What is our love language? What are we teaching by what we're cooking?
That's awesome.
Yes, absolutely. I'm gonna chime in, even though I'm not a woman, but I love women. I love my mother. I love my sisters. I love my wife. I love my daughter. So I love women. I'm be honest with you. And so one of the things that's so important, and we say inside of the slave food conversation, is we talk about that your health equals resiliency divided by your stress, and every action is either adding to your resiliency or adding to your stress. And so what I want to tell you today is that every action that you do, I want you to focus. All of the women out there listening, all the men who love women out there listening, I want you to focus on what you're adding to your resiliency every single day. Focus on what you are eating for your health. Don't focus on the positivity. What are you doing for your health, for yourself? Are you choosing to laugh instead of to frown? Are you choosing to move rather than sit? Are you choosing to eat the colors of the rainbow? Right, and I'm not talking about that candy that uses that advertisement. I'm talking about the colors of the rainbow we just saw in today's cooking demo. We see the greens and the oranges, and we see the reds, and we see the green. We see all of the spices that are there that are the things of life. The spices boost your metabolism. The vegetables enrich your body and help you fight disease. And so I encourage and challenge you for the rest of the month of March to choose wellness over illness. Choose wellness over illness, and that will disseminate out to your family. It will disseminate out to your husbands and your significant others or spouses or partners and everyone in your community. And that's how we make a change to be better as a community.
Excellent.
This has been, once again, a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful session with the two chefs. I want to bring them back, make them a little bit larger. We got help today. Man, you guys are phenomenal. I don't know. You guys need to open up a restaurant in addition to this. And here's the thing. I want everyone who's watching this right now, who may have just liked it or loved it, I want you to share this with someone. I want you to go on the Slave Food page. I want you to subscribe to it. And I want you to encourage these two chefs in every venture. Cynthia, I want you to show us your spices. Show us your spices. Get on there, buy her spices is what I'm talking about. Heather, tell them about your book too as well. We want you to get spiritual. We want you to get into your meditation to really regenerate your body. Cynthia, tell us about your spices as we head out.
So here are my spices. Heather, thank you so much for the love. You can hear me still?
Yes.
Okay. So here's my I've got new packaging, y'all. We're growing. So we've got our tofu scramble. We have got our Habesha spice, which he was talking about what spice does for your body. Spice is good for your body. Then we have our quarantine curry. We have these three, and we have our maple jerk glaze, which is yummy. These are spices that are pure. They're intense, so you don't need a lot of them, and they will help you along your transition journey to healthier eating. They're not full of salt or anything like that. So these were lovingly created. This is my love language in a tangible way, and these are available on afkavefoods.com, www.afkavefoods.com.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And so Heather, yes, tell us about you.
I just want to show you guys too. So I brought up my book the last time, and if you don't have it, it's a devotional book. I don't have it here with me, but I'm also a representative for Red's Kitchen Sink. And it's my sister, and she makes incredible products. My older sister, her name is Dion D. Carter, and you can go to www.redskitchensink, and you can purchase Pressure Be Gone. It is all natural hawthorn, berries, hibiscus, and bay laurel. If you have high blood pressure or just to maintain a healthy blood pressure, this stuff is incredible. And I take these every day. This is Cell Fuel 102, and it is sea moss powder, herbal blend, golden chai formula. And she also sells like sea moss. I'm a representative for her company, and I would like to invite you to try her products. They are amazing. They're on Amazon. She has her own products there as well. And these are really supplements that you will enjoy. There's so many people with testimonials you can read there, but I definitely recommend them, especially if you're suffering with high blood pressure. The Pressure Be Gone is my favorite one.
Awesome.
Love it. So we want to thank everyone once again for tuning in for another episode of Two Chefs and the Doc. We look forward to seeing you again next time, where we really discuss and make that transition from the why to the how you can eat a healthy food, how you can maintain that flavor and make it tasty for those around you and those that you love. I want to encourage you that if any of you have recipes or you're like, you know what, can the chefs make such and such? send us your request, what you want, because these ladies can throw down, as you can see here. And maybe one of these days you might see the old healthy heart doc get inside the kitchen and start to make a little something here.
Yes.
Using those spices. But once again, we appreciate you. We thank you, and we look forward to seeing you again. And hopefully we'll be back next month, and we'll let you know. Take care.